This module will look at adult tobacco use prevalence globally and narrow focus in the U.S., particularly by region, gender, race, ethnicity, age, and industry. As you may be aware, cigarette smoking is the single most avoidable cause of death in our society, and according to the former U.S. Surgeon General, the most important public health issue of our time, followed by the obesity epidemic. What we'd like to point out here is that all forms of tobacco, not just cigarettes, are harmful. In 2015, over 1.1 billion people smoked tobacco, with the majority being men, accounting for roughly 942 million across the globe. Today, tobacco kills more than 7 million people each year, with more than 6 million of those deaths as a direct result of using tobacco products, and roughly 1 million as a result of non-smokers being exposed to secondhand smoke. According to the Tobacco Atlas, about 5.7 trillion cigarettes were smoked in 2016 alone. Today, tobacco companies are cranking out cigarettes at a rate of 5.5 trillion a year. This basically means there's 1,000 cigarettes out there for every man, woman, and child on the planet. Now, as you can see in this world map here, China has the largest population of smokers in the world, roughly 300 million currently. If 30% of those smokers were to die of some smoking-related illness in the next 20 years, the impact would be more than 90 million premature deaths. Now, the U.S. has made great progress on the tobacco control front in recent years. However, people continue to die and become needlessly sick, resulting in a high economic cost for our society. Cigarette smoking kills more than 480,000 Americans each year, with more than 41,000 of those deaths from exposure to secondhand smoke. Smoking-related illnesses in the U.S. cost more than $300 billion a year, including nearly $170 billion in direct medical care costs for adults, and roughly $156 billion in loss of productivity. Now, according to the CDC, in 2017, it was estimated that 14% of adults ages 18 and older currently smoke cigarettes. This is down from 20.9% in 2005. Despite this overall decline in smoking, it's still not equally distributed across populations, as you can see in this U.S. map here. Certain populations continue to use tobacco at a disproportionately higher rate, putting them at higher risk for smoking-related diseases and death. Now here we can see that the Midwest and South regions have higher smoking rates, while the Northeast and the West regions have lower smoking rates. The gender gap in smoking rates is also narrowed over the last 50 years, as you can see in this chart here. However, men are more likely than women to smoke. The gender gaps can also be seen by race and ethnicity, with the exception of the American Indian Alaska Native population, with 24% of women smoking versus 19% of men smoking. Now, the largest disparity gap is seen among the non-Hispanic Asian population, with roughly 12% of males smoking versus 2.6% of females smoking. Smoking rates also vary among racial and ethnic groups, as you can see in this table. The American Indian Alaska Native population has the highest smoking prevalence compared to the non-Hispanic Asian population that has the lowest smoking prevalence. Now, this chart can be a little misleading for aggregated groups and can vary widely within racial groups and across ethnic groups as well. A good example of this is, although non-Hispanic whites and blacks have similar smoking prevalence, the non-Hispanic black male population actually has higher smoking rate prevalence than the non-Hispanic white male population. Further reasoning around this will be seen in the next few modules. However, the tobacco companies particularly target African American males, which is why this disparity exists today. Smoking rates have also declined in every age group over the last decade. The majority of smokers fall between the ages of 18 and 64 years of age. Currently, the smokers with the highest smoking prevalence are among the 45 to 64-year-olds of age, compared to those greater than 65 years of age that have the lowest smoking prevalence. Now, differences also exist in tobacco by industry and occupation amongst U.S. working adults. Now, workplace tobacco control interventions have been very effective in reducing cigarette smoking prevalence and exposure to secondhand smoke. However, they're limited. By industry, any tobacco products can range from 11% among the education services to roughly 34% among the construction workers. By occupation, it can range from 9% among those who work in the life, physical, and social science field to 37.2% among those who work in installation, maintenance, and repair work. Some additional trends here. Adults with mental illnesses and substance use are more likely to smoke versus those who do not have those types of issues. Roughly, those with a mental illness or a substance use disorder represent 25% of the U.S. population and smoke over 40% of all cigarettes sold in the U.S. The LGBTQ community also has higher smoking rates than those who do not identify as LGBTQ. In particular, those that are of color, transgender, and bisexuals also have higher smoking rates. Finally, adults with lower social economic status, meaning less education or live near or below the poverty line, are also more likely to smoke. They're also more likely to be exposed to secondhand smoke. Now, the great news is that most smokers want to quit. Roughly 7 in 10 smokers want to quit. Unfortunately, few succeed on their own and try to do it cold turkey. Intensive counseling is more effective, but only 1 in 20 have access. And of those who do have access through their employer benefits programs, very few sign up. Of those who seek treatment are more likely to be women, college-educated, daily smokers, and have made multiple quit attempts in the past year. Now, in the next 2 modules, you'll learn more on how smoking disproportionately affects certain population rates of smoking and quit attempts, as well as how the marketing tactics likely contribute to these disparities. Later, you'll learn how Pivot is a program designed for all smokers to help mend these gaps that I've illustrated in this presentation, to give those who want to quit access to the best tools and support, and to help those who aren't quite ready develop confidence and motivation for change.